Do you ever feel overwhelmed by the sheer number of tasks on your to-do list? You've got big dreams and ambitious goals, but it seems like there's never enough time to get it all done. If you're tired of feeling like there are never enough hours in the day, this video is for you. I'm going to reveal 10 powerful strategies to manage your time effectively and achieve your biggest goals, all without burning out. Stick around to learn how to achieve more with less stress. Now, if you've watched me here on YouTube before, then welcome back. But if you are new to my channel, then welcome. I'm Dr. Kim Foster, and I'm an MD turned coach and wellness expert. I'm also a mom of two. I run my own company, I manage a household, I make my kids' school lunches, I also find the time to exercise every day, and right now I'm writing my first nonfiction book after having had 4 novels traditionally published in the past when my kids were really little and I was working full-time as a doctor. So throughout my life, people have often asked me, how do you get it all done? That's why I'm creating this video today, because it has not always been easy for me to be productive, and I've tried out so many different strategies and approaches, and I did tip over into burnout a couple of times. So I'm going to share everything I've learned with you about what works and what doesn't. So let's get into my top 10 productivity tips, and I'm going to whip through these fairly quickly so that you can get all the juicy stuff that you need. However, as you're watching, if there is a particular tip that you really want me to go into more detail about in a future video, just let me know in the comments and I can take a deeper dive in the future. Tip number 1 is to identify your main productivity block. Okay, so this is exactly where we all need to start, because the answers you find here will really dictate which strategies are going to help you the most and which ones will be a waste of time for you. It's so important to figure out the root cause of your own productivity issues instead of just slapping a band-aid onto your productivity problem, because that is probably not going to work. We are all in different life situations and different life stages and have different personal tendencies. There's a big difference between having a true lack of available time to get things done versus procrastination and lack of motivation. So what is your main block? Why do you personally struggle to get things done? My 19-year-old son, for example, has loads of time, but he squanders so much of it watching TikTok or binging TV shows. For him, procrastination and motivation and a lack of direction are his main blocks. In contrast, for many of the women that I work with, my coaching clients and the students who have multiple roles and responsibilities, they have the opposite problem. True time scarcity is the main issue. They've got all the clarity in the world and no problem with motivation, but when you look at their schedule, they only have tiny wedges of time each day to get things done. Both extremes are a productivity problem, but they are both going to have very different solutions. So what is your main block? I have to say, a casual search for productivity tips here on YouTube or Google will often pull up a bunch of stuff about how to stop being lazy, stop procrastinating, find your motivation, and things of that nature. And those are legitimate issues for sure, but I know that when I was struggling to get stuff done as a working mom, that was not the problem. And if you're like me, juggling kids and aging parents, a full-time job, a household, plus a desire to take care of yourself and maybe enjoy life too, then keep watching, because the rest of my strategies are for you. Okay, so tip number 2 is to create a pocket task list. This is one of my secret weapons. I make the most of the micro moments in my day. I maintain a running list of 5-minute tasks. These are just quick tasks that can be done in 5 minutes or less. Some examples are responding to emails, organizing a small area in my house, wiping down my bathroom sink, or making a quick phone call to book an appointment. This helps me take advantage of those short periods of downtime, and this is all about making use of time that might otherwise be wasted. For example, when I'm waiting to hear back on something, or if I'm sitting in my car waiting to pick up my kid from an activity, or if I'm sitting in a waiting room or in a queue, that's when I take a quick look at my pocket task list and just knock through one or more of those things. If you're someone who is tight on time, then I encourage you to create your own pocket task list and keep it handy for those moments of unexpected free time. A side benefit is that feeling of accomplishment when you cross off a couple of small bite-sized tasks. Okay, tip number 3 is to prioritize ruthlessly. This is incredibly important. It's crucial to identify high impact activities and focus on them, especially when you do manage to carve out those bigger blocks of time for getting things done. Because the last thing you want is to squander that incredibly valuable time. I talk to my boys about the danger of sharpening pencils when you sit down to do something. Sure, it just keeps you busy and you feel like you've accomplished something tangible. Now your pencils are all nice and sharp, but should you really have been using that time to do some actual writing? Yes. So get super clear on the most important priority, the ones that are going to truly move the needle, and do those things, not just the easy things or the low-hanging fruit. Tip number 4 is say no. There will always be people who will ask you for things or invite you to do stuff or get involved in something, and you need to learn how to set boundaries and how to say no to tasks or commitments that do not align with your priorities. This is not about being a jerk or never doing anything for anyone else, but it's about protecting your time and energy for what matters the most. There are good ways of saying no to requests, and you can learn the art of saying no. But it starts with recognizing that you are allowed to say no, and it doesn't make you a bad person. If you know that you are a people pleaser, this one is especially important for you. Tip number 5, time blocking and scheduling. For me, I schedule everything. I schedule my workouts, I schedule my self-care time, I schedule time with my husband. I know that sounds kind of rigid, but I actually find it the opposite. I find it liberating because I know that I have got time for everything that's important in my life, which means that I can just relax and follow the system and it all fits in. Stephen Covey tells a story that illustrates just exactly how to build a schedule that has time for everything. So you imagine a large jar and you need to fill it with large rocks, which are your important tasks, and pebbles, which are less important tasks, and then sand, which is all the minor, less impactful stuff and activities. So if you start by filling up the jar with the sand first and then the pebbles, you're going to run out of room and you won't be able to fit all of the big rocks in. Instead, put the big rocks into the jar first, and then the smaller pebbles, and then the sand, which just kind of fits in around the cracks. Meaning, schedule the things that are the most important and are going to take the most amount of time first, and then fit in the other things around those big time blocks. All right, let's move on to tip number 6, which is to delegate and outsource. Now, if you're a bit of a control freak like me, then this one might make your eye twitch a little, but here is the thing. You have got to learn to let some things go. A trick that I have used to help me with this is that when I look at my list of things to do, for each item, I ask myself, who else could do this? Because you don't have to do everything all by yourself. You can delegate certain household tasks to an older kid in your house, for example. If the car needs washing, maybe you don't need to be the one to do it. Could your teenager do it? Or for that matter, could one of the neighbor's kids do it for a relatively small amount of money? They'll be thrilled at a bit of extra money. You've got one less thing to do and everyone wins. This also holds true with professional or business tasks. Training a virtual assistant to take a simple task off your hands involves a bit of extra time, but that is just a one-time thing. Then they can do the task on an ongoing basis, and you are free to do the stuff that is going to bring more money into your business. The 4-Hour Workweek is a great book to read about how life-changing it can be to embrace delegating and outsourcing, and it's just such an important skill to help you get more done without burning out. Okay, tip number 7 is to have protected downtime to practice self-care. It's very easy when you're focused on productivity to just go, go, go. But that is a recipe for burnout, and that is not what we are going for here. Self-care is not a luxury, it's a necessity. So when you're creating your schedule, bake in some time for self-care. An evening wind down routine is a good example here. In the evening, I know that if I just keep going right up until the moment that I just collapse into bed, for one thing, I'm not going to have a great sleep. I haven't given myself enough of a chance to just wind down and decompress before going to sleep. So even if I do fall asleep quickly, my dreams will be all crazy. I'll keep waking up, ruminating on all the things that I was thinking about and doing right before bed, which of course sets up a vicious cycle, because if I don't get a good sleep, then I am much more tired and less productive the next day. So figure out what you need to do to practice really nourishing self-care to keep yourself feeling good, feeling energetic, and not being all work and no play, because when it is time to work, you're gonna feel rejuvenated and ready to go. Another example is a morning routine. This is something that I have talked about in other videos, and I've also created a free guide to help you put together a morning routine that is going to work for you. It's called the Ultimate Morning Routine Menu, and the link is in the description below. Tip number 8, identify your power hours. This is about determining the times of day when you are the most productive and schedule your most important tasks during those times. For me, I'm a morning person. I feel most energetic and efficient first thing in the morning, so that is when I try to get most of my important stuff done. The afternoon is just the worst for me. My energy tends to flag, but because my kids are still at school, I still get some things done, but I do the tasks that don't require so much focus and thinking and energy. So figure out what your power hours are and then align those high energy periods with your highest priority work. Tip number 9 is batch similar tasks together. This is all about efficiency. We know that when you switch back and forth between different types of tasks, you lose a little bit of efficiency when you have to make that mental shift. Instead, batch like activities together. So do all your emails in one go and then close your email tab and don't look at it again until you're ready for another batch. I batch everything. I film my YouTube videos in a batch, for example, and I do creative and writing tasks all in another batch too. Things that are more outward facing like phone calls, Zoom meetings, and coaching calls, I cluster and batch those things together too because those things are using a different part of my brain. Okay, the final tip, number 10, is to plan for the unexpected. Life happens. No matter how much you plan and schedule and prepare, stuff is going to come up that you did not expect, which is a danger when you have a schedule that is just too tightly packed without any wiggle room. When you're planning your days and your weeks, allow for some buffer time. This will mean that when there are delays or unexpected events, you will still be able to stay on track. You won't have to panic that everything is now just totally out the window. Okay, so there you have it, my top 10 productivity tips. Let me know in the comments which one is new to you and which one you're going to try first. And if there's something that you want me to go into even more detail about, let me know about that too. And that will help me to know which future videos would be the most helpful for you. And don't forget that if you want some guidance on how to create a morning routine, which is often a really great place to start, then go ahead and download the Ultimate Morning Routine Menu totally for free. Just click the link in the description. If you enjoyed this video, then I think that you are going to love the video that I'm going to share on the very next screen about how to be that woman. I share all my daily habits for productivity and health and happiness, and I will see you over there. So, throughout my life, people have often asked me, all right. Just coaching myself here. So wait, did that make sense, that last sentence? I think the emphasis was wrong. Okay, hang on.